What up, what up? I hope you're all doing good and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Andrea, aka Healthy Ego. I'm 21 and I've been living here in Hong Kong since 2019. So today I'm gonna give you a few tips on how to find an apartment or any type of accommodation you're looking for here in Hong Kong. I say here in Hong Kong, but I think some of these tips you can use pretty much anywhere in the world. So yeah. Désolée pour les francophones, mais j'ai rajouté des sous-titres FR rien que pour vous. So some of you might know that Hong Kong is one of the most expensive cities in the world to rent or buy an apartment, pushing people to live in extremely small spaces like micro apartments, nano apartments, and sometimes cage apartments. So unless you can afford to live anywhere, you should probably know what to expect from Hong Kong housings, and you might have to compromise on some of, the aspects or amenities you're looking for. Before engaging in the apartment hunt, you might want to make a list of criteria to give you some guideline. So those criteria might include location based on how far it is from your job or from your university, or whether you want to be closer to the ocean or in a less crowded area, because Hong Kong can be pretty overwhelming in some districts because of how crowded it is. Then the type of accommodation you're looking for, whether you're looking for a serviced apartment, a co-living space as a divided unit, a one-bedroom apartment, etc. Then whether you want the apartment to be fully furnished or not. And most importantly, your budget. Of course, your budget is going to impact the other criteria, because based on the location, it might be more or less affordable. Like for instance, an accommodation on Hong Kong Island tend to be more expensive than in new territories, for instance. And then of course, if it's fully furnished, it's gonna be more expensive than if it's not furnished. But then if it's not furnished, you're gonna have to, buy the furnitures. So there's a lot of things that you have to take into account. So to give you an idea of rent prices here in Hong Kong, rents for a one-bedroom apartment here will on average range from 12,000 to 20,000 Hong Kong dollars or more per month. And studios are slightly cheaper, but it's around the same range. And if you're fine with having roommates, usually I think a bedroom in a shared flat on the island will cost between 7,000 and 8,000 Hong Kong dollars per month. Of course, it depends on how big your room is and how many flatmates you have. Personally, I pay 6,000 Hong Kong dollars for a 150 square feet subdivided unit in the city center on the island. So you can also, find cheaper things if you're willing to compromise. Also, it was supposed to be more expensive, but I negotiated. Okay, once you have your list of criteria ready, you have to know what you'll be willing to compromise on. Because in Hong Kong, you will have to compromise on something. So personally, I was willing to compromise on space, but I was not willing to compromise on my bathroom. Let me explain. In Hong Kong, there is this thing that's really common, that's a wet floor bathroom. It looks like this. And that was a big no-no for me. I didn't even know this existed before I came to Hong Kong. I was like, nope, it ain't for me. Now let's move to the hunt. So unless you're very busy, it shouldn't take you more than 2 weeks to find an apartment in Hong Kong. So I think there are like 5 main ways to find an accommodation in Hong Kong. So number 1, student housing. So of course, if you're not a student, it won't be an option, but I guess you can always, replace it with a hostel. That would be the cheapest alternative. But if you're a student, it's the most affordable alternative. You just have to go on your university website and check the different types of student housing they offer and apply. So the application process can be a bit annoying and you have to be on schedule because there's an application time schedule and etc. But it's all going to be explained on your university website. It's perfect if you're fine with sharing a small space with someone else and willing to share, bathroom and kitchen and common areas with other people, because the rent is only about 2,000 Hong Kong dollars. If you're scared you might not make friends here in Hong Kong because you've never been here before, I would advise for a hall because there's a big hall culture here in Hong Kong, but you would have to, participate in hall activities, whether it's joining your whole sport team or helping the whole organize cultural events. You're gonna have to participate in the whole life if you want to be able to apply again the next year. And most importantly, if you decide to join a hall, you would have to attend those high table dinners that to me kind of look like Hogwarts dinners, so that's pretty awesome. I personally chose not to live in a hall because it's just not for me, but I did live in a university housing, so it was student flats. So I was living with 3 other students. We all had our individual rooms and we just shared the kitchen and the living room and the bathroom and toilets. So it was fine because the space was actually pretty big. Like, it was a big apartment and still much cheaper than what you would have here in Hong Kong for the same amount of space, but much more expensive than, if you live in a hall. So it would be about 5,000 Hong Kong dollars or less. And usually if you're an international student, you can apply for an accommodation bursary scheme. Number 2, Airbnb. So if you're only staying in Hong Kong for 6 months or a year, an Airbnb can be an option. It's not necessarily cheaper than a regular studio apartment or whatever you're looking for, but it's usually more stylish and more modern than what you would find on the market for the same price. It's usually less constraining than a regular rental contract here in Hong Kong, because usually rental contracts here would run for about 2 years and they can ask you for a letter of employment, which you might not have if you're a student. But of course, there's always room for negotiation, but I know that for some landlords, if you don't have a letter of employment and you cannot stay in the apartment for 2 years, it's just a no-no. Number 3, real estate agency. If you don't have much time or you just don't want to look for it on your own, another option is to directly register with a real estate agency in the city, like Century 21, Midland, Centerland, and they'll contact you as soon as they'll find something suitable for you, even before it gets listed on the website. And agency fees are usually half of 1 month's rental. Now, moving on to my 2 favorite options, which I think are the most common ones here in Hong Kong. Number 4, Facebook. Now, most people I know here in Hong Kong found their apartment on Facebook. There are tons of Facebook groups, both public and private, and it's really easy to find an apartment there. Once you've joined the group, all you need to do is write a little paragraph like, hey, my name is Andrea, I'm looking for this, this, and this, and you just, put the list of criteria that you've made previously, and some real estate agents or sometimes people looking for roommates, and even landlords sometimes, but rarely, will just message you or comment on your publication and send you suitable accommodations. And you can also just check the listings that are posted daily on the groups. There are so many listings. See whether they fit your criteria, and you just contact the person who posted it on the group. Now, number 5, websites. So there are tons of websites and apps to look for apartments here in Hong Kong, like Hong Kong Homes, Square Foot, Spacious, Savills. Craigslist is one of them. I would personally not look for an apartment on Craigslist, but some people found their apartment there. Or you have Asia Expat, Geo Expat, 21 HCE, or specific agency websites like weave, or all square if you're looking for a co-living area, or teen residence if you're looking for a service apartment, and Roomster if you're looking for roommates. Personally, my favorite website is Spacious, because to me, Spacious is to accommodation what ASOS is to clothes. Once you're on the website, you can just put your criteria such as location, accommodation type, size of the accommodation, maximum rent price, number of beds, and tons of other features. Once you've selected all your options, you can just browse for accommodations, make a selection, and contact the real estate agents. Once you've found nice places, you really need to visit them before making a decision, because a lot of things can be hidden from a picture. So I've personally visited over 20 units, but you could just visit 2 places and find the apartment of your dreams. Probably not of your dreams, but suitable one. You've got to be quick in making your decision, because this apartment gets knocked up real quick here in Hong Kong, and real estate agents can be pretty aggressive because usually landlords could be more accommodating in terms of rent prices if you're willing to sign the lease immediately. So personally, I've had several real estate agents try to come up to my hotel to make me sign the lease immediately. And that was a bit too aggressive for me because I need a bit, more time to process all the information. But yeah, if you know it was the apartment of your dreams and you want it immediately and you know how to negotiate for a cheaper price, then go for it. Once you've made up your mind, you need to sign the tenancy agreement, which is your tenancy contract. You can first sign a provisional one and then the real one, and it just lays down the terms and conditions of your tenancy contract. You will usually just need your passport, contract, your letter of employment, and if you have it, your Hong Kong ID. For students, if your landlord is fine with lending to students, you can just bring your student card instead. And while reading your contract, watch out for additional fees such as management fees, government rates, and government stamp duty, which are usually included in the rent you're paying, except for the government stamp duty that you'll split in half with your landlord, but it's usually not expensive, so it's not an expense that you really have to be scared of. Then you'll just need to pay for agency fees. So as I've mentioned earlier, agency fees are usually half of 1 month's rent. Then you'll also need to pay the deposit. It's usually between 2 months or 3 months of rent. Personally, my deposit was only 1 month of rent, so it depends on your landlord. And then you also have to pay for the first month of rent up front. And that's it. You have your apartment. That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and it could be of any help to you. Don't hesitate to comment, like, subscribe to my channel, and click on the notification bell. You can also find me on Instagram, healthy.ego. And yeah, see you later. Bye!